What are you drinking, Luis?
I'm drinking a LaCroix. Lime.
Nice.
This episode is brought to you by LaCroix. Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos come together to talk about nerd shit. This week, we are talking about the kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We are also ranking all of the Planet of the Apes. Not the Planet of the Apes TV show, just from 1968 movies all the way to 2024. But before I begin...
Did you learn your name inside, you son of a bitch?
And with me is...
Miguel Sanchez. No.
And Ednelius Caesar. Ed Bull.
There you go. I think before we begin, let's just do initial reactions. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. No spoilies. Right?
Yeah.
Well, how can we get started on it without reviewing its box office real quick?
Oh, Ed. I love it. That's why we have you on the show. It's perfect.
Just to keep our audience up to date on the box office movie wager, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was our second movie this summer to open, and it did pretty well. It opened to a lovely $58.4 million.
Oh, damn, I forget we're doing domestic.
Yeah, we are. And it's currently sitting at 62.8 with the Fall Guy right behind it with 50.7. So, legs and all of that. But this was a nice, after 7 years, hiatus? This was a nice little opening.
I'm going to say I underestimated this movie completely. My bad, y'all, especially with the whole Godzilla Kong situation. I feel people are ready for this type of content. I should have put it higher, and I fucked up already. So... Miguel, you're pretty high on your list.
Yeah, number 5, I'm pretty sure. I was thinking maybe it could be a little bit higher than my 4th place, but I was confident. I'm going to leave it as it is. I mean, because I have to. Yeah, it's it's in stone. So,
great. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is about many years after the reign of Caesar, generations later. A young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. That's from Google description.
Yeah. IMDb.
Ed, what were your thoughts on the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
So, I was definitely one of those who was a little apprehensive going in to this. You have the director from the Maze Runner movies, which I never saw, but by all accounts, it wasn't great. Cousin West.
Cousin West, yeah.
And we don't talk much, obviously, because I judge his movies without seeing them. But that also, it's been a long time since we've had a Planet of the Apes movies, so you feel like people might be like, what are they going to add to the story, etc. I was one of those people. So going into it, my expectations weren't too high, but coming out of it, I really quite enjoyed this movie. I was surprised at how intimately they delved into the world building in this one. I'm glad they quickly moved on past the Caesar thing. I want to see a little more evolution of this Planet of the Apes, especially if they're going to keep going with this franchise. I want to see them evolve to what we know. Right.
What did you just say? 9 movies?
Yeah, that's the goal, apparently.
That's what they say. They've got... it's obviously, they're not going to make 9 more movies, but they say total from Rise of the Planet of the Apes to the end, they think they can do a total of 9.
It's like, the goal, 3 trilogies.
3 trilogies, yeah.
So they're doing the Star Wars thing, where
right. Okay. But they started at the beginning, so you got to give them credit for that.
They at least learned. Story structure.
Apes will learn.
Was that new news or is that old? Like old?
That's come out over this last week. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure it was just like some studio saw the movie, saw the projection of it, and we're just like, well, yeah, naturally we have sequels coming, so buckle up. But anyway, all that to say is I was very pleased, surprised really at how much I liked how, like I said, it goes on this kind of personal journey, but we're building more on a wider scope. This world now. We're not stuck on those same characters, and I really, there's not a lot of big names in this movie, but I walked away liking most of the characters. I was engaged most of the time. I know this is like one of the longest, if not the longest.
It was so long.
It's the longest one, yeah.
But honestly, I never felt like it dragged. I'll be honest. I was engaged the whole time, and I was really invested in it. I thought there were like actiony moments at the right time. I felt like there was drama, but like earned drama. It wasn't just kind of shimmied in. It gave me the Planet of the Apes feel that I want in this franchise, and we'll delve more into details like that. I had some quibbles about it, which we'll also get into, but overall, I thought it was a really solid continuation and a necessary leap forward in time to, again, kind of move past that original story, but also like build on it too. So it's cool. And it's also laying the groundwork, obviously, for these, I guess, upcoming sequels, which I also have questions about. So, yeah. I thought it was a solid film. I was really pleased with it.
Miguel, what were your thoughts on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
So I did Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquer the Planet of the Apes, and then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in one day.
Okay.
So by the time I sat down, part of me was like, I am so over this franchise right now. Like, I have just monkeyed out.
Were you going bananas?
I sure was. I sure was.
They don't even like bananas, remember?
I saw.
I know.
But the other part of me was just so happy that I was seeing like proper CGI. You know what I mean?
A more modern version.
Yes, like, oh my god, if I see one more like obvious man in a monkey suit, like it's. We'll get to it later, but I was happy once I got situated and the movie got going. I've already confessed to Ed. I don't think I told Luis. I was a little under the influence. Okay.
Okay.
Not just drinking. And I was just mad heroin straight to the vein. Dry movie. And because it was so long and I did go to a late showing, I did fall asleep during it.
Oh no, Miguel, no.
I did.
Oh no. Okay.
And I was really looking forward to that because I saw whatever tweet that was like, oh, the last act rivals Avatar or something. Yeah. I was like, oh, I really want to see that. And I didn't. I Z'd it.
Wow.
And but I did what I did see, I did enjoy. I was having a good time. I saw most of the movie.
Right. At what point? What was the last thing you remembered in the movie?
The Caesar finally showed up, which I remember thinking as I was nodding off, like, "Fuck! How long is it going to take for this guy to get here?"
Oh, you're talking about Proximus, who named
when Caesar was like, when Caesar Proximus. Like laid down and closed his eyes right at the beginning of the movie, I was like, same.
Light me up.
He's just like me for real, dude.
Light me up, Maurice.
So when he came in and I was like, oh, okay, good, I should really pay attention. And the next thing I know is I needed to leave. It was time to go home.
All right, so
okay, well, I guess we'll get into what you did get and what you didn't. Spoilers, by the way, to our audience.
My thoughts of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is, I gotta be honest, guys, after watching this movie, I had a great time.
Awesome.
I kind of agree with everything Ed is saying. This is a new whole trilogy of movies.
You mean you didn't fall asleep?
It's a new trilogy of movies, and it feels like a pilot in the sense where they're just like kind of resetting the lore, doing things from a new angle, which is completely the right path to take. We're going to talk about later about why I like just this franchise in general. But you never really know what to expect when the next movie comes in. I think the last two movies, especially, were very intimate and tied together. But outside of that, every time you go into a Planet of the Apes movie, they really take you for a spin and not really sure what it's going to be like story-wise or tone-wise. But I did have a lot more fun with this movie, especially with, I didn't watch Maze Runner either. Wes Ball did those movies, and I already went into it thinking that, oh, here's going to be this, like, I don't know, standard dialogue and characters that have to fall into place at the right time, and we're going to lose some of that depth that Matt Reeves brought to to War of the Planet of the Apes. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was really caught up in some of the action. I did tear up at moments, and I was invested. I think when it first started, I was like, okay, we're setting things up. And then there was a moment where I was like locked in, and I was like, okay, I'm here for the ride. And I had a great time, and I am excited for the new set of movies that's coming. But let's get into spoilers. Ed, it seemed like you were ready to talk about something and jump into something. What was it that you wanted to talk about that was spoiler related?
All these monkey faces he's making.
Ooh. Oh, speaking of which, I did let's talk about the lore of the movie itself. A couple things is, when it started the movie, they were doing these hand signals, and I was like, oh no, did they still not know how to talk? Like, I really came into this movie hoping that they were just talking fluently. But then as the movie went on, I liked how they were able to have a hybrid situation of sign language and talking. I don't know. I really relate to that in some ways. Like, you know what? I do want to kind of communicate that way as well. I
because if you think about it, like even people, people who do sign. I mean, there's a lot of vocal work to that too. So flipping that, using it as they see fit, but have probably grown up using mostly hand signals. It's just kind of like second nature whilst they're talking even. But it's I too was like, how much are they gonna have evolved at this point? Because even in war, it's still only mostly Caesar. I mean, the other apes are starting to talk more, but it's more selective.
Like, it was a big moment when Maurice finally said something to Caesar,
which gave it dramatic. Yeah,
right. And I like that they. Oh no, I was just saying, I like that they kept the whole humans couldn't talk situation. I kind of really like that angle from Planet of the Apes, and I actually stopped watching all the trailers, so I didn't know if the main character was going to talk in this movie. And so seeing that being set up top, I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad that they're kind of including that in here. Another thing I really liked was the whole bird culture and the whole egg situation. It really made it feel lived in, and something that was just this introduction of like all these different clans and cultures. And it's like, you're right. Now it's not just about apes versus man. It's like apes and apes and apes, like different clans with different cultures, and how they're able to utilize that for huge story moments, especially at the end.
And how they refer to the, for lack of a better word, the before times, and where they came from and where they evolved from. Like Noah's clan specifically have interestingly avoided the, that they evolved from like cages and stuff like that, and ownership, and humans, or they call it echoes in this movie.
I love that.
And just that they have always been kind of that way. And the forbidden area is like, I guess, beyond the city, beyond the wall. But because of that, they are a little bit ignorant to everything else around them. And almost by choice, but it's more like they've adapted to their surroundings, and they've made a happy lives for them.
They've really siloed themselves into that like foresty area, and even the homes, the way they're built vertically, it's already like telling like, oh, these are climbers. These are a special breed of skill that these kind of apes have. That is a huge contrast to the very end when we're in like metal and man-made stuff, and this ape wants to evolve to be man, and it's just this clash of cultures.
It looks like Ape City from Battle, which or just like a CGI version of that, more intricate design. But that's what it reminded me of, a little more homesteady. But I liked it. I would love it to live in that treehouse.
Miguel, what did you think about the whole intro part of the movie.
The first 2/3 of it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's smacking time. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm not going to add a whole bunch to this, but I agree with what you're saying. I liked the bird angle. I thought it was cool. I came in expecting the CGI to not be as good as the Matt Reeves ones, and maybe slightly,
Yeah.
But again, coming off of these old ass Planet of the Apes movies, it was just like so
such
refreshing.
a palate cleanser.
What a funny contrast, because I actually finished watching War for the Planet of the Apes like a couple days before this movie.
Was it kind of, did you notice a big difference?
Especially, the thing is that one does a really good job with Maurice. Like every time he shows up on screen, I'm like, God damn, that looks good.
He looks good.
He looks real, and his eyes and everything. And so when we start off, and we kind of go back to that time, and we see Maurice and Caesar, R.I.P. I could tell a difference. It's like, oh, this is not as clear as.
And they put him in the dark too, to kind of like hide that.
I wonder if there are moments, because some moments were really good, and I don't know if the other moments, maybe the beginning introduction where they're trying to catch the egg, if those were added on later. But some of them did really shine.
But
sorry.
Go ahead.
No. I feel like similar to Avatar, it was in the bigger moments where sometimes I let it down. Where like if it's when it got more close up, I feel like it looked better. Or if it was focusing on one individual, I guess. But generally speaking, I mean, we'll get into more of the characters. I felt like a lot of it looked really good.
Like all that like spit in Noah's mouth when he's like in pain, and it's just kind of in between the lips. I'm like, man, this is so how do they do this? This is movie. Yeah. This is movie magic. You know what I mean? This is why we come to the theaters.
Yeah. We were talking about, the whole bird introduction. One thing I was kind of grateful for, and not in a bad way, because I did like that whole element to the story. Though I was like, this bird's going to save the day at the end. Sure enough.
Yeah, sure.
Spoiler alert, Miguel, the bird saves the day. But
got it.
Sorry, the eagle. Show it some respect. But I felt like every time this movie would otherwise be in danger of starting to drag and getting lost in these things, like we could have like gone into the next day where they're doing the whole bird ceremony thing with the eggs and stuff, and we get to see all of that, and then the drama comes, and all too late, we're moving on in the story. But I felt like it at every turn, this movie progressed forward at the right moment. And again, that's why I felt like it didn't feel long to me. I felt like the pacing was just right to
there was a lot of moments that gets you off guard where you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And it can be from small moments to when the egg gets crushed on his chest. I was like, fuck, that sucks. Or when the horse is found out and it chases and it goes back to the town, I'm like, oh no. I think there are all of these little bits that ramp things up again. I was really taken aback by some of the action, just
like how it took off and everything. Absolutely. Like every action had a consequence kind of thing. It wasn't just like, oh, he'll make it back in time or whatever, just like everything happens by coincidence. It was like a ripple effect. And I like that.
Yeah, those apes were scary. The ones in the masks.
Yes.
Yo, I mean, I was like, hey, fuck. And I already am not a big fan of like big monkeys and shit like that. Like, I don't like that shit.
I have a question for you. When you saw that little exchange happen and there were apes on the floor and there's a knife in the back and then they showed up, what was in your head that was happening at that moment?
Like, what do you mean?
When Noah is going to go look for another egg and he stumbles upon, the dying apes, and then he hides and he hears hooves and things coming, because a lot of the early moments in this movie actually plays peppered in almost like a horror movie. The way that tunnel is made, and they're creeping in, trying to get that blanket. It's continuing on later. when it's dark at night, there's rustling, the apes are just dead, there's random noises, and when you hear those like hoofs coming in, what were you thinking, and like what was going on in your mind when these apes approached?
I was just like, okay, this is the bad Caesar's camp. They're coming in and they're about to take over, and he's about to show up, and that whole story is about to start. And then I was surprised at how much longer it took before he actually showed up. But yeah, no, I guess I was just like, oh yeah, he fucked up. Like he shouldn't have gone out. You know what I mean? And he did, and he ruined it. Right? They found the horse and everything. Fucking asshole.
I definitely find it interesting how I like how this is the angle where it's like generations later, you kind of forget what your forefathers do, and this whole like misrepresenting Caesar's name. And when they were going in being like, for Caesar, and they're like killing people, killing the apes. I'm like, yo, this is not Caesar's message. That was like one thing, like ape does not kill ape. And that is a thing that resonates through all this whole franchise. So when you see it happen, you're like, nah, bro, this is not the way, you know?
Yeah.
It was a pretty impactful moment when you just see them just carelessly doing it. It did make me feel like, God, you know, Caesar did so much work to get us here. And then,
and it's also
this is how he's remembered and how those words can be twisted.
Yeah. And I mean, the moment that he was gone, you know what I mean? It's like he is no longer in control of the reins. Like they're
only going to multiply and section off, you know, every group is going to have that alpha. The alpha ape and stuff like that. And that's what makes like Noah's like community a little naive in that they've kind of ignored the past basically and just almost like blocked it out, and it's just like, no, we've just always been here. But yeah, that moment and then the build up to back to the camp was intense, like the chase in the woods and everything.
The fight in the like up the top,
that tower,
defending his dad, like.
And I feel like, I mean, obviously you're going to show it in trailers, but like, yeah, getting to meet Proximus in the trailers, you are expecting to get to that point.
Yes,
it's in your mind, like, I can't wait to meet this guy, kind of thing. And what
for him to say the line,
what his game is, you know, like what's going on. So, but like, what I loved when they came into it is just that Planet of the Apes feeling of like these apes are on horseback. They're starting to incorporate armor and
on the beach, walking down that beach.
The beach.
Yeah, they got nets and stuff, and they're like, chasing humans. Obviously, that scene in the field where they're trying to catch May.
Yeah,
you see that scene so many times in the trailer, both trailers, I guess, and you kind of feel like, well, you know, I get it.
You get it, yeah.
But the way that scene plays out was really good. I was like really into that scene. Like it was, again, I'm going to use this a lot, but like the Planet of the Apes moment of just like one species or another who has been silent for so long suddenly speaks.
Yeah,
it's jaw dropping.
It is it's jaw dropping.
And then, like when you find out more about May, you see why, kind of thing. But like you see that battle in her mind about it. Just like, should I do it? Like the tension in that was palpable, and that again, that gorilla is so scary.
Yes,
like increasingly so as the movie goes on. That was a good build up, good hype.
When she first showed up. And I can't remember why, but they called her Nova.
Yeah.
And I remember right before they said that, I was like, this bitch better not be called Nova. I swear to God.
But then they had an explanation for it, which I thought was really funny.
That helped it, because I was like, okay. I can at least see every woman since Caesar's or whatever. I'm like, okay. All right.
They always called
Nova. I don't know why.
And then she was like, bitch, that's not my name. I was like, oh, okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Right.
That was all good. Yeah.
That worked for me.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a throwaway line, you know.
Because one of my complaints about the earlier Apes movies, which I'll get more into later, is just I really did not like how little an impact the female characters really were, with the exception of Zira.
Right?
You know, But
oh man, yeah, it was like 70s pulp movie, or like skimpy bikinis and all of that. Yeah,
super misogynistic. She does nothing of value at all other than to be pretty for the man. And so I was just not looking forward to another movie where she doesn't talk and someone's always talking for her, you know? So I appreciated that they didn't go that angle.
Yeah.
Miguel, you were talking about the moment when you fell asleep. When so you actually got to see Proximus, right?
Yeah. He showed up for sure.
What a wonderful day! He's like screaming it, right?
Yeah. And I remember him telling him like, we will learn, we will be whatever, human or whatever. Like he was like, I want to learn this. He was having that conversation with him.
Yeah,
that was fuzzy. It's one of the last things I remember.
He was like he really liked the whole Roman history. And as much as the other camp was naive, he was really educated and was really taken with the humans. He was trying to build a kingdom, kind of uniting all of the apes together under his reign. So someone who, you know, the idea of evolution and things like that, it seems like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty fair and right, but kind of missing the core value of Caesar and like what I think the big thing sometimes with this movies too is like we are apes and you are man. We are not the same. But then you kind of see those lines begin to blur as they continue going on. Like as you beget power, you start acting out like those who were in power kind of situation.
Yeah. And Proximus, ironically, uses a human to help him evolve.
Yeah.
Teaching him, creating those electric stun
batons,
spears, whatever.
Yes,
he's supplying all of that. So it's
who was that? Who was that guy?
William H. Macy.
Yeah,
it was William H. Macy. I was sitting here. I was like, wait, because I remember he came in and I was like, oh fuck yeah, I didn't know this guy was out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I kind of expected him to show up as an ape at some point. Like I knew he was in it, but they hadn't alluded to his character at all in the movie, in the trailers, I mean. So, but yeah.
Also very important. R.I.P. to another great little orangutan character, Arca, right? That's his name?
Raka,
my bad. I had it.
Oh, man.
The letters are in there.
He's played by Peter Macon. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
I don't know who any of these apes are played by. It's just like Avatar. I don't know who any of them are played by.
I know Kevin Durant, who plays Proximus.
Yeah.
And I know
Kevin Durant, the basketball player.
Yep.
All right, thanks everybody. That's the end of the episode.
I'm Googling.
The Noah, he's played by Owen Wiles or something like that.
I don't know who this.
I know him from a show on HBO, which now I'm blanking on the show. Owen Teague, thank you.
Owen Teague was in.
He was in a show with Catherine.
Reptile. You hurt my feelings, Eileen.
No.
Anyway, his known for he was in both It movies. He was in Bloodline on Netflix. He was also on Black Mirror.
Oh, Mrs. Fletcher.
Yeah, I don't know any.
Peter Macon. This guy looks familiar.
Good. I'm glad they got a lot of like
Catherine Hahn. But no, somebody pointed out, and probably rightly so, they were just like, Andy Serkis and that team just kind of figured out that you don't need big name actors to sell
because that's not what it's about.
That's not what it's about. Like you could bring in people like you have like great character actors like Gary Oldman, Jason Clarke, Woody Harrelson popping up throughout the franchise. You know,
James Franco,
understated James Franco. Well, I guess he was like a bigger star at that point.
Just kidding. Yeah. I didn't.
But yeah, but like with the apes too, like. Yeah, you'd be kind of stretched to name any of the other actors who have played the apes, but now that they're becoming the central focus, which I'm glad about.
I wish they did the same thing with animation movies, where I think there's just so many times where we rely on A-list celebrities to sell like
Christopher Pratt.
Yeah, like the Mario movie. You know, this is like the people aren't going for Chris Pratt; they're going for Mario. So what an opportunity to get. And anyway, I'm going on another tangent here. Really great performers in this movie.
Rocco. Rocco stole the show for the time that he was on there. Yeah. He was funny. He was insightful. His reactions to everything were just perfectly timed. Great voice too. Great,
beautiful voice.
Like it really just captures your attention. Like you want to watch. And
he's very
to
expressive
him.
too. Like I was, you were talking about the sign language earlier and how, oh man, I wanted to make sure that they're like more evolved and talking more and this and that. They were still sometimes were not as expressive, but he was. You know what I mean? Like in his face, in his voice.
Yeah.
He seemed like learned. You know what I mean? I guess compared to their clan or whatever. But yeah, and you could tell he could hold his own too, right? Like he kind of flipped him up when he first runs into him,
Yeah.
I guess he was on that trap or whatever, but it was like, okay, he can hold his own.
Man, yeah, like during the chase in the field, like and he grabbed that tree trunk.
Yeah.
Oh man, you were just like, fuck yeah, this is like great. I'm so here for this. A question though, and this again, another spoiler for our audience if you haven't already tuned out. But Miguel, did you see his quote unquote demise? Okay. Do you guys think he's dead?
Oh, I was going to say, did he come back? I was definitely asleep.
No, so we don't see him come back, but
it would
possible?
Be. I mean,
it just felt like that
when you kill a character on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything you do after that, other than leaving them dead, it just kind of becomes like, you know what I mean? It cheapens that moment a little bit. It can be good, maybe, if he comes back. Because, I mean, he seemed like a character that people were going to really, glob onto immediately.
Yeah.
Like, he could totally come back. Like, he would put butts in seats. You know what I mean?
But somehow Rocka returned.
Yeah.
Rocka. Yeah, I was just curious. It just like, I guess maybe because like you grow to be so fond of him that it was hard to accept. Yeah, it's just like so
I
soon.
agree too. When he let go, I was like, okay, and he returns now.
Yeah,
and he comes back now.
Because what a great clash it would have been to see. Put him up against Proximus, not necessarily in fight, but like in theory, like their philosophies on what Caesar was and how apes should be, kind of thing. Like I would love to see that kind of philosophical clash.
Right. I think it was more about Noah kind of stepping up and taking that reign and seeing like when he's put under the fire, what direction does he take? Has he been influenced enough by Rocka to kind of be okay with humans and move forward? And at that ending when they're meeting and May has the gun behind her back.
In
that moment, it's pretty, Ed.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was that brought on some audible gasps in my screening. Like, I think everybody was holding their breath in that moment. I will say, and we'll probably talk about it more, but I like one thing I do miss of this franchise is the fucking shocking like cliffhanger endings that they had. I'm not saying that it has to just for the sake of it, but like
what I mean, like, it does have this turn at the very end. I found where it was like we were seeing these people. I'll spoil a little, Miguel. We see these people almost acting like animals, which I loved seeing them kind of almost trading in for another piece of cattle, and the way they treat them as herds and things like that with the zebra. And so you're kind of have this mentality like, oh, all humans are like this now. This is the way it is. And then you cut to almost this sci-fi-esque visual of a human in a spacesuit, meeting May when May gives her the hard drive and she enters into this corridor and there's this whole other world that you open up like, oh, this story can go in a very big direction as far as like where these humans can get involved again. And I think it does leave some sort of like hanger of, what happens next. But I don't know I guess you didn't feel the same way.
I guess, if I had any like, qualms with that, It was more of just like the what that means in the grander scale of things. But I just met like there is like this kind of a hopefulness. I mean, I guess like it's more sinister in the grand scheme of things, assuming that they are going to continue on this journey to what we all know to be the planet of the apes.
It seems like the humans aren't going to the humans aren't going to back down at this point.
No, sure. Yeah. And and I guess where is this story if you can't have humans in it? Like you need that kind of human thread to run through it. So, and I guess I didn't really know what to expect in that. So, like, I guess I'm still just wrapping my head around. I enjoyed it because it was, again, like you said, it was like we had no idea where she was going and what she was collecting. Like that was a big question mark after they leave the beach. Yeah. Like what she was grabbing, what her mission was, and all of that, and like leaving all the apes for dead, basically. So like she kind of became the villain in that last little bit, in a way, like but reminding
the hero
you
for herself too. You know, she was her whole mission the whole time was saving getting that drive to the humans. You know,
and they played it nicely because it would have been very distracting if the whole time we'd been cutting between the two human, like the human and the ape element. You know what I mean?
I would have hated that.
Hey, May, we're sending you on your way. Watch out for those darn apes. Those damn dirty apes. Yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of May? Nova.
I loved her. I think obviously we've seen her in The Witcher, and she's stepping up into the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think I look forward to her continuing to be in this at least little trilogy of movies. I enjoyed her. Miguel, what did you think?
10 out of 10. Would watch again.
No, but May.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's something a little disappointingly generic about her. You know what I mean? I just like...
I'd love to know more because honestly, I was here for it.
And I guess this adds to the plot later as we discover who she is and where she comes from. And again, I do, now that I'm talking about it, like I do like how they handle her character throughout the story. And it makes sense. But like the whole time I was wondering, like, why are her clothes just like a little dirty? You know, I don't get that you're destitute or have been living in the wild, and obviously that comes to light later. Right. She had been sent from a place on a mission.
Her clothes look different than the wild humans. That
exactly,
we see later on.
And that did occur to me in that moment too. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, this is different. Mm-hmm. And she's like shedding a tear for seeing these humans, and all this time you think like, oh, she's just kind of lost from her clan tribe. Whatever. Talking about it now, I just feel stupid, but I don't know. She really actually just did everything she was supposed to do. And
was that one of your quibbles?
No,
her clothes were slightly dirty.
No, because like I realized later on that was like, oh yeah, she obviously she just didn't pack a blanket or whatever. But one of my quibbles, I guess, is the final act.
The birds?
A little bit of the birds, only because, like, I just knew that was going to happen.
We all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah,
especially when the bird...
That was Noah's Ark, literally. And imagine the hilarity in the writer's room when they came up with that. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah, the whole what? Let me ask you this, Luis. What did you think was in the tunnel?
What I saw. I mean, tanks. Guns. Like that's exactly what I thought was going to be in there.
Maybe I just go on these stupid mind journeys where I'm hyping myself up for something devastating, like I was afraid
human skeletons or something.
No, I thought they were going to find like an atomic weapon, or boats to start like sailing, like apes hitting the ocean kind of thing. Because
you know what? The nuclear weapon is not too far. It's not too far. I think that could happen, though. I really think that could be the next step.
Wait, what did you say?
The nuclear weapon?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a part of the blood of Planet of the Apes. That's like, which I found like, I don't know, entertaining, at least that element of it in the older movies. Like, and of course, at that time when the Cold War is going on,
right.
So of course they're leaning into that. It's like,
because they're connecting to satellites now. Like when you see the satellites move and they connect to somebody in Indiana, like with all that technology, the way that you almost like have a visual palate cleanser when you finally get to that ending of just seeing like this whole new set. It's this whole thing of like, wow, humans still have the technology to probably take these apes down. And there is a threat that if they get access to those missiles, planet of the humans.
Well, they can't go back to that cave, right? Like that, we assume all of that stuff was lost.
Yeah.
That's why I guess May did that. But yeah, that was that whole scene though played out, and that final chase with the gorilla.
Yes, dude. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
it was such a satisfying death,
but it's scary too. I was just like, this is kind of like Aliens, but with a gorilla chasing you. And the water rising, obviously, and the visuals looked really good in that. And I was listening to an interview with some of the cast today, and they were saying like, oh yeah, when we were in the mocap suits, the water wasn't real. We weren't actually in water. Yeah, we were
just doing this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just like wading through, or like in a ball pit,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that was a cool scene. Yeah, what did you think of the Proximus death, Miguel? Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but it's okay. Go ahead. I mean, okay. I get it.
Okay, so they break out of the tunnel and they're on top of the cliff head where they had broken in initially, and like the whole tribe is there, the whole eagle tribe.
Right.
Let's call it Eagle Tribe. And the like Proximus is still like terrifying.
Somehow Proximus survived,
Yeah, like, and still nobody wants to stand up to him, even though it's like him and all of them now. And then he starts wailing on Noah, and then Bird Son comes and swoops in. And all the eagles start coming in and hacking at him until he falls off the cliff. And like some birds are like hacking at him as he's falling, which is cool. It's kind of like Prometheus.
I'll say this. It had to happen, right? Like thematically it had to happen. It sets it up where it's like he's got a beef with his bird. Remember, apes strong together kind of situation. I was like, okay, they have to come together at the very end to take down Proximus.
Yeah.
And it could have been just them like beating them up, fist to fist, but they were able to kind of incorporate their culture into it. And they set it up where, the Falcons or the Hawks, what are they again?
Eagles.
My bad. Okay. Eagles. Excuse me. They were just staying away. They weren't even coming back to their owners. They weren't, it was kind of sad to see them so distant and to have them come back seemed to be like, yeah, this sounds right. This feels right. It's better than them ganging up on Proximus with fists. It incorporates their culture.
No, sure.
But it is like predictable, but it's also still satisfying. Like,
I was satisfied with myself for guessing that's where it was going. It's just like, this is it, Ed. This is what we talked about. This is what we came for.
But you still enjoy what it happened. I enjoyed it.
Kevin Durand makes such an impression as that character.
He does,
and you almost feel like, it's such a waste, though. I'd love to see him in a sequel. It's just not the nature of it. But
this is getting him notoriety. You know what I mean? People are really like, they're talking about how, man, this guy's been showing up in movies for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, people on the internet are super hyped about Apes movies right now. Like, the guy that played Koba, like, people are starting to talk about him more now.
Who played that guy? I forgot.
I'm blanking on his name.
Toby Kebbell.
Yes,
Man, I don't know who that is. Wow.
He's a British actor.
He was Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four
In the new 2016
with Michael B. Jordan and Miles Teller.
He was in Black Mirror.
I thought it was the other one.
Anyway,
okay.
I'm just saying that this might be the movie for him, Kevin Durant, the basketball player. That'll really kind of push him into a more mainstream setting because he's kind of a character actor, I guess.
Oh yeah. You
see him in a lot of bits. Can I, as someone who didn't get to finish the movie, unfortunately, can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask like Planet of the Apes questions. Like, did they do certain things? Okay.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And I don't care if you spoil or whatever. So you just let me know. Did anyone kiss a monkey on a mouth?
No.
No.
All right. I'll keep watching this movie then. Okay. Did anyone say the damn dirty ape line?
No. I don't
Good.
think
Because that was really.
Human? Did they say like these dirty?
Did they say it like that? Yeah. Any
it
variation.
It wasn't a no. Nothing as
like
pointed as that. I don't think so.
Okay. Because I'm trying to remember, like, I know there's at least 3 instances across all 10 movies where they use that line, you know what I mean? Well, obviously the original one, and then a couple different times where they make a nod to it, and I'm just trying to decide.
And like Rise, they did that.
Yeah. The very first one. And I'm going to talk about that later. I'm going to talk about that line later, but I'm just curious about that.
There was a doll. I don't know if you remember the doll in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, where they pick it up and then it proves that humans were smart.
It was in the first one too. Like
the
Planet.
First one. No, I think it was in the second one.
It was in the first one because they were in that cave. And Charles Heston, he's like, why would humans make a doll that could talk? Wow. Yeah. Or why would apes make the apes?
Luis, the reason why you're confusing that is because those first 2 movies are basically the same movie.
I know.
The second movie has a flashback, though. They do show it again in the second movie.
Wait, so there was hold on. Are you talking about, they made an ape doll? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a baby doll. Yeah. But it's a human doll that goes mama. And
that's in the first one?
That's in the first one.
And the cave, he's right.
I thought was there a cave in the first one? I thought there was
we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later.
Takes place, baby.
Come on, baby.
Come on, Luis.
You're thinking in the second movie he finds the subway or whatever.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the second movie, they do have that like previously on Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, the first, 1000%. I remember now because they were like, if we can prove that humans were real or had intelligence, and then he's like, I knew they were intelligent all along. Fuck you.
Slow down, everyone. We're going to talk about these movies in a little bit. Okay?
So I thought that was like a nice nod anyway, that doll one.
Right.
Anyway,
I will say, watching, did I say this already? Sorry if I did. Watching all of those old movies has really kind of like made me understand some of the choices, especially in like the Matt Reeves trilogy. I know he didn't do the first one.
Okay. First off, I'm sorry. I have to pause you. Can we stop calling it the Matt Reeves trilogy? Because he only did 2 movies.
I literally just said, first off, calm down. I literally just said, I know he didn't direct the first movie. Okay. No disrespect to the West Ball of that franchise, whatever his name is. Okay.
Rupert Wyatt.
Whatever. Okay. No disrespect.
I'm putting my anger on you. I just keep seeing it on the internet, and I'm like, it is not his. Like he only did 2 movies. Okay, sorry.
You know, you've known each other for a long time. You don't need to attack me.
To be fair, though, he dominated that trilogy. If that makes sense.
He did. But why don't we just call it the Caesar trilogy? I mean, it's Caesar's.
That's fair.
This is also this is another topic.
The circus. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever. Sorry. I'm getting a little excitable about this. This is one of those topics that
Caesar.
Watching all of those old movies made me understand some of the choices in this Andy Serkis trilogy. Okay. I was like, I see what they were pulling from inspiration wise, but especially in this movie as well, there were also moments where even in the short amount of movie that I saw, right. I was like, I see what they're pulling from the overall like lore of Planet of the Apes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the chase, like it's very in the first movie, you know what I mean? They do that, right? Where the monkeys are chasing the people through the field. Okay. What else? Something else reminded me of it. I mean, you're talking about like
walking down the beach line.
The beach, yes. I was like, here we go. Here's the beach. You were talking about earlier the humans are still advanced with technology or whatever. Mm-hmm. I immediately was like, okay, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, like,
right?
You know, they're this like whole different society. And maybe that's not the same, but that's just what
it's the same. Yeah, totally.
This is what I could see them pulling from. You know what I mean? But yeah,
that's what I like about Miguel. You talk about how you don't want things to be 1-to-1. Like, you don't have to reinterpret the story exactly how it was before.
No,
And I feel like this series, all in all, is kind of doing that, where it just takes inspiration off of the previous thing and just goes another direction. Like, you liked burgers? We're going pizza this time.
And also,
but it all has like meat.
Here, quick example is in the original Planet of the Apes movies, they talk about their whole justification for why apes have evolved is because there was this disease that killed dogs and cats. You know what I mean? But in the Circus trilogy, which, trying to help you out here, Luis, okay? You know, I really like that they took the idea that there was some sort of disease element, but here they switched it to like, oh, it affected man. You know what I mean? And because of that, they shifted in the evolutionary whatever. So I see what you're saying. Like they take that inspiration, but they crank it to whatever the modern day
and they give you another angle in the room for it. We don't always have to look at it from the same perspective every time, like Disney movies do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where it's like, let's recreate these beats. Like, no, let's look at the room a different place, and then maybe let's turn down the lights. Let's make it a little colder, and let's invite some more guests. Now the room looks a little bit different. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
if that analogy made any sense?
I'm with you, baby.
Okay.
Sometimes you're at the beach
and you just want to be by
the river.
The river. Okay, that's the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think we talked about it a lot. Now let's go into the rankings. Let's rank the Planet of the Apes series. I got into this thing, and I'm actually surprised y'all caught on to it as well, to watching all these older ones.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, they were clearly, promoting this across all the streamings. This was like on Max, Hulu, and Disney Plus.
Are you talking about the old 1968 versions?
All the movies, all of them, all of the ape movies. So
you can get them.
It just seemed like a good opportunity to finally watch all of them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I will say, last week was it? Luis, you had kind of prepped us. You were like, I watched these movies, and you really stole it. And maybe I was just a little drunk, but I was like, fuck yeah, Luis. Like, the thing that you said that really piqued my interest was that every movie was different from the last.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that pulls me in. I'm not a big, like, I don't like to go past a certain point and watch an older movie because I'm just like, especially in this sci-fi genre, it's like you really have to like immerse yourself into it to buy into it. But I was like, but you sold me on the premise. Every movie is something different, and I mean that night immediately, like I texted you guys, I started watching that first one right away.
Yeah.
But I'll get to my opinions here in a minute after I watched several of them.
Okay. I guess you just want to start the ranking.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ed, did you really want to include the Simpsons episode in here?
No. Okay. I just thought it'd be fun to watch, but Miguel shut that down way quick.
Because by that point, I was like, no, I will not be adding more apes to my life.
But it's just like it's making fun of it in the best way.
It's literally like a 3-minute YouTube video. There are 10 movies, perfect for a top 10. We'll go Ed, Miguel, myself. Okay, Ed, what was your number 10?
All right. Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. I don't care.
Okay, I know. Whatever. I understand the hate of it. I get it. But
I don't think I hated any of them, but like there are a couple.
It definitely goes a direction. It goes a different direction.
It does.
Which I admire it, but I understand.
It's just like I liked the idea of like, yes, they were, flipping it on themselves, like apes being like these intelligent apes, like hitting, modern America or whatever. But like, the way they go with that, and then the thing that really put me off of it is the brutally abrupt ending.
You could talk about that for a lot of those early Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh, no, of course. But this one was just like, damn, they literally just shot fucking main character.
Yo, but hold on. Can I?
And threw the baby, and I know it's not the baby, but they threw the baby into the ocean. I was just like, God damn it, humanity.
That reveal. So, Louis, put your finger up too. That reveal, okay?
What fucking reveal?
I was here for that. When you were talking about cliffhanger endings, that ending of Escape was, I think, I don't want to give my hand away or whatever, but I think Escape's ending was maybe my favorite. Like,
oh wow,
that was a great, because I didn't, because it made sense after the fact, but I didn't catch on that she was like, I want to go talk to the mother chimp that just had a baby too, because we connect to each other. I didn't realize what she was doing in that moment. And when he shoots the baby ape and then she throws the baby off the ship. Yeah. I remember being like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, why would she do that? And then at the end, when it cuts back to the circus, I was like, no, you know what I mean?
Andy Serkis. No, I'm kidding.
The circus.
I agree. I think with Zira is that through line, and you're with her through these journeys. And so when that abruptly ends, I mean, this is a bit of a grim series, isn't it? I mean, every it always ends grimly, and I think that is part of like what you go with. Like, this is what you're coming to the show for. I'm also
going to say this if you're just going to mention it real quickly. I had an issue that Zira. Roddy McDowell, the guy that plays Cornelius, he comes back. He continues.
He comes back as his own son.
But I thought the Zira character was so good.
I
was really upset that they were like, and we're done with you. You know what I mean?
But that's what made it very impactful. I was like, I think in a Hollywood now, they would never kill her off. Well, but then they did, and then they committed to it.
She was kind of like a leading character, but not the lead. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I immediately, when I saw Conquest of the Planet of the Apes was the next movie, before I finished this Escape, my brain was telling me, okay, especially when the baby died, I was like, okay, she didn't look like she got like a mortally wounded, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, Zira is going to live, and she is going to take over the planet, and she is like going to make the apes rise. Yeah. And so then, to my surprise, the next movie went a different direction. I said, "Oh, okay."
I was like this. I think for me, there are moments in the franchise where I'm just like, I'm like, oh my god, this is dramatic. Like, what's gonna happen? Good. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so Escape of the Planet of the Apes for Ed.
Sorry,
Miguel, what's your number 10?
My number 10, and hey guys, spoiler alert, I did not watch all of these movies, okay? This is the one that I didn't watch because at some point I was like, I just cannot. It was Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Okay. Again, because I'd done so many, okay? So it's only in 10 because I didn't give it a fair go. And yeah, maybe I will go back and revisit these.
Miguel, it was like their version of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
It was that good? It was like the best one?
No, I'm just summing it up for you. Like, that's what happens. You know?
Okay. Is that what happens?
A little bit. Like, you've got Caesar who is ruling over the society. You have the kind of the aggressive ape who is kind of challenging him.
See, here's the thing: is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is so good that I think if I had to watch them do that in the early 70s, I would be like, "Fuck my dick! I'm so done."
Okay, but hold on. It was 1968 when they pulled this off. The fact that like this part was kind of attached, like I think that's pretty impressive. I'm pretty impressed that
the faces were always good.
On the main ones.
And Conquest, when they were like walking down the stairs, I was like, kill everyone. I hate this.
Well,
this does not look good.
They were doing very documentary style. Okay, my number 10. I thought this was going to be everybody's number 10, to be honest, but I guess not. It's Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, number 10.
Oh, baby, I got some bad news for you. Okay,
yeah. I did not like this movie at all. I think the designs obviously were upgraded to modern times, but Mark Wahlberg's character completely boring. There's no real threat. There's no real stakes. These apes just act like normal human beings, which is not interesting or fun. It's pretty bland.
I gotta disagree with that.
And then Tim Roth is the only is an interesting performance.
Is Tim Roth the bad guy in that movie?
Yeah, he's the bad guy, and he does a good job of that. But I just like don't care for the other characters, and I really didn't feel like worried like I did with the other movies. And that's
I'm sorry. I'm going to let Ed. Ed's gonna really take you down. All I want to say is this: is when I turned on the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie, I had the same feeling as when I started Kingdom. I was like, thank God, a more modern movie. Like I can sit through this. Like the score, the dun, 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 you know what I mean? Like the credits. I was like, pull me in, Tim. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go. Sorry.
No. You've mentioned you feel like the apes act too much like humans before, and I was like, man, the original Planet of the Apes, they are basically that
humans.
And I feel like Tim Burton's at least made an effort to make them a little bit more ape-like. Like when Thade loses his shit, he starts literally bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Aside from him, he's the best one. He is the best.
Well, no, sure, but I feel like that stems throughout a lot of the characters.
Well, this one's like talking
as
about
far as like physical
like,
effects. Well, yeah.
It's just like those type of. Maybe I don't like that type of nuance of human like attitude. It's just like
But what if that's where this current franchise ends up? You know, like that
they're not going to be like, oh, my social TikTok is going off the chain. Like that's not going to be like if they did that. That's what Tim Burton would have done if he did it now. You know what I mean? Like, Daddy, my bamboo phone is. I need a new one. You know, it's like fuck me. Like this.
I will say this. I do not think this is the number 10 movie on this whole franchise.
Well, that's fine. I'm going to stick it to my number 10, but we're all very different.
Luis, can I ask another question? Was this your first time watching that one?
No, I remember watching this one in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. I watched it on a blue VHS.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
That was dope.
But I saw it in theaters too. I went for my birthday one year. Like I took some friends. I was like, guys, do you want to see Planet of the Apes?
But Tim Roth he does the best thing. He is the best thing of that movie.
He's
that
good.
Character.
I would argue Paul Giamatti.
He's good too.
Paul Giamatti's good too. But like Tim Roth is able to balance both being an ape and also being like smart.
And he's scary too. He's like a little
he does a lot of heavy lifting with Paul Giamatti's being Paul Giamatti, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I do love me a little
these kids. You want the kids, you know, and he's just like selling them off. And I guess that angle of like selling them off is interesting too, but I don't know. And then
at the end though, he has his own arc, you know, and his name is Limbo. But like when he's like hiding in one of the cages and he's like, oh, it's over. I was just about to make my move.
Right. That is funny. The love triangle was just so like,
oh, it's terrible.
It was like they meet and she's in love with him. And I'm like, when did this happen? You know?
Mm-hmm. And again, they just don't look like they've been living in hardship. They just like perfectly like. Also, she looks like she just dropped out of a shampoo commercial.
Right, and they start talking. I just didn't like a lot of it.
Do you guys remember?
I do get it. I'll get more into it later. But
in Interstellar, when you're like, Matthew McConaughey, astronaut, you're kind of like, no. Mark Wahlberg, even more so in Planet of the Apes. You're get this man out of space immediately.
We gotta get that train.
That guy, he is frowning the whole fucking movie.
It's not good. It's not good. Not the role for him.
It's like, and then like, I don't know if we're midway through, but he has a gun in his hand already ready to go. And I'm like, okay, well, he's already feels unstoppable, you know?
Yeah.
But okay. I understand though. I mean, listen, we're going to be fine.
Well, yeah. We're not passionate about this.
No.
Okay. So my next one was, and I struggled with this and Escape, I guess, but my next one is Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Like thinking about it, it really was like, at first I was just like, were they trying to reboot it? Like what happened to Charlton Heston?
Here's what happened.
A lookalike.
This is my speculation. This is my speculation. The movie was so popular, they wanted him to come back.
Yeah.
But he was probably one of those actors that was like, I don't fucking want to do this unless it's a lot of money. No, I don't even think it was money. I think it was literally hate. I think he was like, I don't want to do this. So I'll come back and be in the very beginning and I'll do the very end because I want to give the dramatic, it's just my
I was surprised he showed up at the end, to be honest.
Then the studio was like, well, fuck, you know what I mean? Like people want to see you in this movie. So let's get the fucking carbon copy of you to be the lead of the movie.
Yeah. And then let's redo all the beats again.
All the beats.
Yeah.
with the exception of this wild ass fucking left turn that we take.
Which honestly, I mean, we'll talk about it some more, but
sorry, Ed.
That last
this is yours.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed. Yeah, sorry.
Well, no, now I feel like I should switch it with escape because, like, thinking back on it a lot of it, I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And literally the only element I really liked about it, which makes it even worse, is the whole, like, nuclear fallout element to it. I didn't even like the fucking
the
mutants.
cult?
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I hated that. That was ridiculous.
I hated that.
Okay, I mean, listen, I'm going to say it, but I actually liked that part of the movie. I was like, dude, this is completely different.
Again, it was like a really dark ending. Like of course, like during the Cold War or whatever, they had built the what do you call it? The
Omega bomb.
The Omega bomb that, like, destroys the whole planet, and like that, and that's what they're praying to, which I like that kind of weird culty vibe to it. And like, of course humans would do that, and just like intertwining those elements with you've got the militant
guerrillas,
who and that guerrilla general smoking the cigar all the time, but no, it was just it was such a weird blend of things, and Nova gets killed out of nowhere.
This franchise is brutal.
Yeah, it's but not in an effective way. It was like off camera almost. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I know.
It was just like, we need to get rid of her, and we're just going to kill these two guys anyway.
When the apes
blew up everything.
The Taylor clone, you know what I mean? The apes go, and he's like, go.
Yes.
That's not how I was going to die.
I didn't think so either. My jaw dropped.
Oh, yeah. Huge, like, bridge on the River Kwai, like, nod with him, like, reaching and pushing down on the crystal bomb thing, whatever it was.
And then it just credits.
And I was like, I was just like, hey, that was, we still have like 3 more movies of this original franchise. What happens next?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay.
Zira conveniently got off planet.
Yes.
Which I almost texted Luis when we got to the next movie. I almost in that moment was like, this does not make sense. You're bullshitting that they're going to justify this, but they did.
They did.
But
okay.
I'll make this quick and short. Let's move on. Mine is also Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Can I make this quick and short? Mine's also Beneath Planet of the Apes.
Okay, you guys, that's great. I think
that's number 9.
This was not the movie for me. I would have maybe put Battle above it if I had actually watched it. You know what I mean?
I think you would have. Yeah.
This movie was. By the end of it, I was like, I don't know if I can keep going.
I mean, listen, I had problems with it because the very 2/3 of it was like rinse and repeat. He just looks like Charles Heston. But honestly, it's so fucking wild and wacky and weird.
It does go a different direction.
That I'm just like, you know what? Take my money. Like, you're taking off your face. You're communicating telepathically.
I hated it.
What is going on? Where are we? And the fact that you're making these, like, the fact that you're taking these wild chances and then it just ends by them all dying. Like, I don't know, something about me kind of is giddy with like, let's just fuck everything and do whatever we want. Like, it's so weird and wacky, but I get it, Miguel.
Yeah, no, not for me. Not for me at all. I mean, there's even that one point where he walks into their house or whatever. Like he was hiding behind the curtain and pops out and Zira goes, Taylor? You know what I mean? Yes, oh, does he look exactly like that guy? Yeah, I get it. Because what the fuck?
And it's hard because all humans look alike to them, remember?
Oh, damn, there's a whole commentary bit that's happening right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the whole franchise, All right.
That was a good impression.
Thank you. I watched these movies. Come on.
I know.
My number 8, it's Miguel's missed opportunity. It was Battle.
Okay.
It was. I'm just going to give a shout out to John Huston, the director, who cameos as the lawgiver, the narrator at the beginning and the end.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like, oh wow, all right, got John Huston on board. But the inner story, just kind of like the the battle between Caesar and then the militant apes, and then the surviving human mutants from Conquest.
You're right. It is very much. It is kind of like Dawn. Yeah.
So, and I like that element. The battle was, cool. It was, for what I'm sure the budget was, I like that element to it. Again, the nuclear fallout of it all, and
Two things I like about. I'll say it. Two things I liked about that is this is a place where we're working on and the last one was like apes together, come together, kind of how the new ones are, and then here you have them like becoming human and like kind of breaking that law of ape not kill ape. I will say this one thing: when in Battle of the Apes, when one of the humans, because the humans are now underneath the apes a little bit, and there's this whole commentary about, because there's a black man who is in both Conquest for the Planet of the Apes and in Battle of the Apes, and he is kind of like this knowledgeable one to Caesar, where he's kind of giving information. He's like, listen, I come from a history of enslavement as well, and I know you have as well. This is not the right path. This is the path to take. And he continues to take that kind of guiding role in battle when those two apes start fighting each other, and there's some like headbutting. I lost my train of thought just now. What was it talking about?
You were
Caesar and the guy from Conquest.
I
taught him slavery's bad.
Oh, this is what it was. Okay. Yes. So there's a point when in the movie before that, Conquest, they're just saying no to all of these apes. No, they're torturing them, saying no. They're teaching them by hitting them and saying no. By the end of that movie, you're like, oh my God, stop saying no all the time. Mm-hmm. So when you get to this Battle of the Apes and one of the teachers says no to one of the apes, I turned to my TV because I was cleaning. I turned to my TV and my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
And then I saw the other apes freak out too. And they were like, that is not a word humans are allowed to say to apes. Yeah. Apes can say it to humans, but humans can't say it to apes. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Y'all were tortured when you were hearing that word in Conquest.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think like those little like
there are nice little threads that run through it. There's like some consistency to the madness that happens in this franchise. Battle.
Miguel.
Conquest. Yeah, that's Conquest is right there in that spot. By this point, I was tired. I did not appreciate. I said it earlier. I really thought Zira could have been like the lead of the next couple of movies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And to see her go from this like, super knowledgeable, not trusting of humans, becoming trusting of humans, and then to see her like lose faith in humans.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been a really solid story for her, and I thought the actress that plays her is so good. I really liked her character, and so I would have loved to have seen more of her. And then the fact that Roddy McDowall was the number one credit, I say this because it's so jarring. Because like his character in the very first movie, I was like, if you had asked me who was going to die in this movie, I would have said Cornelius 100% is going to die at some point. He will go away because he is so unnecessary. Zira is the one to pay attention to. And so by that point, I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? We just can't have a female be the lead of these movies. Yeah. And I know that they set up that they had a male son. That's not my problem. It's just the fact that they were like, well, let's bring him back. He can play. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I think there's more to that, maybe because, well, no, I mean, that's also just kind of like misogynistic Hollywood for you.
Yes.
It would be nice in this new franchise, maybe having like a female-led movie.
I mean, imagine if after all those movies as Caesar, Andy Serkis came back as Noah in this movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You would be like, oh,
but like,
okay.
I mean, just tell me like one female character that really stands out in any of those movies, really.
The original movies?
No, the Matt Reeves friend. The Circus trilogy. The Circus trilogy.
The Circus.
But like Caesar has a wife who doesn't get
she gets
anything
killed
to
off
do.
very quickly.
She gets killed off in war. Any of
she
those
spends
kind
most
of
of that
characters.
second movie sick, right in bed.
The one female character in War is a mute.
Can't talk.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an opportunity for the character in Kingdom. What was her
May?
No.
The other
ape. Suga? No, that's a silly name.
Anyway, all this to say,
carry on.
Conquest is in that spot. You're going to see a trend here for these next few movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Mine number 8 is also Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Maybe.
Yes. My number is also Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Hey, all right.
So we're aligned there. I've already talked about that movie when I was interrupting you constantly. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. You actually had more intelligent things to say about it. All right. So my number 7 is Planet of the Apes 01. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
The Marky Mark one.
The Marky Mark one.
Yeah.
So, and call it nostalgia, complacency. It's just the movie that introduced me to the Planet of the Apes.
And it cannot be understated. That VHS was blue. Okay.
Bright blue.
Come on.
For no particular reason, even.
Why was that the color? I don't know.
But no, and it really is just the spectacle of it. The armor, I love that opening credits. The armor, the makeup
is
and
great.
costumes is incredible.
Yes.
It really is. Even by today's standards, it almost makes you want more of that. I mean, not necessarily for apes, but just like in movies in general, that kind of makeup is so effective, and like on so many of the characters, it works. Like Michael Clarke Duncan is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah,
yes, it definitely is a flawed movie, absolutely, and very basic. It doesn't get into the lore quite as much as like some of these other movies, like the dueling philosophies or histories of each planet or culture, and it doesn't have much to say. Yes, the love triangle is stupid. Marky Mark, Helena Bonham Carter is kind of annoying in it too. But like little touches, like I've already talked about Paul Giamatti, but like Charlton Heston as Thade's father, talking about the the human technology, and some elements like it. I think the fact that it's like his ship that he finds at the end diminishes the overall impact of it, like the scope of it. And it's just very, it's a very just like singular vision movie. Like it doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it, but
I think I remember when I saw it in theaters, the whole idea of like Marky Mark's like space team was the reason why this planet has apes. I was like, oh, okay. Like as my little self. Like, he's the reason why they're here. And so I was like, that I'll give them. But
and the original ape was called Zemos or something, right?
Hold on. Oh god, I just watched that today. Cerberus or something. No, not Cerberus. That's
it's definitely not Cerberus.
Severus.
It's like
Snape.
I'm blanking on it now, but I had that thought where I was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? When they said it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so
I love that moment
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I love the moment when you actually see him come down to the like they're waiting for him to return, right? And he comes down in that little ship, and he's just like a little guy walking out.
Yeah.
I like that visual contrast of the two.
Yeah.
What is this ape's name?
I mean, I remember that the ape's name is like Pericles or something like that.
Pericles.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're talking about, Ed?
Yeah. But like the apes refer to him as the god Zemos or some shit. They come up with their own name for it. That's what I was talking about. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry,
anyway, it's irrelevant. Moving on swiftly. Miguel, 7.
My 7 is, you guys, the original Planet of the Apes movie. Okay. I was excited, and this was crazy because I was ready to go. I was ready to buy into this immediately. Guys, I really did not like Charlton Heston. He
was a bit of a
Off.
douche.
He's an asshole the entire movie. Yeah. There was no real redeeming quality.
No,
but then they would they would do these things, and it felt like of a time, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where man didn't need to be redeemable. I am man. You know what I mean? And the things that he needed to be were strong and sexy and could get all the bitches, and it didn't matter. You know what I mean? If he was a good human, you know what I mean? That was so low on the list. He was such an asshole. He was an asshole to his fellow astronauts after they land. Yep. The female astronaut dies, and he's just kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? Great loss. Yeah. We were going to have a great time with her, which I thought was disgusting. Yeah. I hated that line. I also, the way he would just immediately was like, oh, yes, Nova, like, I will take you. You know what I mean? Because you were the other thing is like his delivery on some lines. I sent that tweet that was like, they just don't make actors like this anymore. And like some of his line deliveries were like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like when a news anchor like shifts from like news anchor voice to their regular voice, and you're like, whoa, okay, you were putting on a voice. That's what I feel like he's doing. He's like, I'm acting and I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm acting. I don't know. He was very off-putting. I was very glad in Beneath the Planet of the Apes that he was not the main feature anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first one. I'm sure it was exciting. The end, you know what I mean? Obviously it's like Sixth Sense, like, you know, the cliffhanger of the original Planet movie. It was done well. I liked the final, like, not battle or whatever, but like after they discover the cave and then all those other apes show up to save the like King Faith guy, whatever his name was. I liked that moment. I liked the fact that they referenced it again. Ed, you were talking earlier, they do kind of like previously on Planet of the Apes. In the second movie, I liked that they kind of start the movie there. And that's what I felt when I was watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is I really liked that they were like, this is still a part of this story that you know. We're just going to take it in a new direction. So I like that they kind of did a little recap. But no, my God, what a shit time I had.
Was it purely because of Charlton Heston?
Yes, because I liked other elements. I really liked Cornelius and Zira. I love them. They are a great. I like that over the course of a couple of movies, right? Like, he gets more confident, and it makes me like him more, because I'm like, okay, you guys are a pair. You know what I mean? Because at first it was kind of like she had to be like, you're an idiot. Like, you're supposed to be smart. Like, we're on the same page.
He's a little cowardly.
Why are you being so cowardly? Yeah. And so he does kind of find, especially in Escape, you know what I mean? He finds his like
Cornelius.
His spine. And then it makes me go like, when she says things like, oh, he's like the love of my life and he's my mate forever or whatever. And she shows that she loves him so much. You know, there is a point where it's like, it feels like they are good partners, you know what I mean? To each other.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Great couple.
So I like them a lot.
I think they're endearing. Like that. I think her love, her like interest in this human and the way that she goes about it is it draws you.
Yeah. I love that they do I hate that they do the kiss at the end of that first movie. It's so dumb. I already know that audiences were like cracking up, tears in their eyes when she's like, but you're so ugly. Yeah. I already know that was like,
the ape said that.
Fuck off. But I loved that never deterred Zira and Cornelius. You know what I mean? They never played that as like she all of a sudden was catching feelings or anything. It was just like, it was done.
I want to give a shout out to Dr. Zaius.
Yes, I was going to say him too. I said Faith King or whatever. I couldn't remember what his name was. He was like the minister of whatever. Science. His was the science.
Science and religion, I think. It was like a contradictory position. Zaius. But like, he's also the most deadly, most dangerous adversary. It's just like where you can manipulate, gaslight these people over like
he warns Cornelius early on in the movie. He's like, be careful, because don't let your theories like get the best of you or whatever. And it was like, oh, okay, this guy can pull strings. Like, he can point and say like, you're whatever
and
you are.
then the more you find out what they've been doing to the humans, you're just like, oof, this is fucking tense.
And I did like in Beneath. Sorry, Luis.
No, please.
I did like in Beneath that he kind of has a slight change of heart. You know what I mean? He's never like 100% like, oh, I'm on the human side now. But he does kind of start, because he starts to see the gorilla's choices. And he's kind of like, no, that's not right. Because kind of like Zero was saying, right? Like, we're intellectuals. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we think beyond just like brute strength. We're passive in this and that. And I could see him in the second movie being kind of like shaking his head a lot. Like, this is not what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a tangent. Luis, go ahead.
No, I think that I'm building off of that. I like in the older movies how they were able to distinguish the different type of apes into different type of characters. Like, gorillas are always fighting and killing. Not us. We're not like those gorillas, you know. And in fact, in the Escape Planet of the Apes, it's a gorilla that kills one of their other people. And so there's this idea of like, listen, not all the apes aren't bad. It's those gorillas, and then the orangutans are like the smarter ones, you know, and they're the more pacifist ones. I think it's more nuanced now, and I think that's good.
Much better.
But I do at the time and for that movie coming in, I do like that of like kind of heads butting and what that does as far as relationships go. And, you know, if there's that headbutt, then what does that do story wise? And so that I found intriguing for the very first few ones.
You make such a good point, because like audiences, I assume, just based on what I saw, audiences back then were not looking for nuance like that, right? They were looking for more straightforward not cookie cutter, but like more straightforward storytelling. And yeah, absolutely. In those movies, it was like 3 distinct different types of monkeys. They dress differently, their fur is different, they're built different. You know what I mean? It has to be kind of just like spoon fed to the audience.
Like the twists are shocking enough, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you mean we're on planet Earth? What? Like,
they sell it really good at the beginning of the movie too, when they land and the astronauts are like trying to decide, like trying to figure out where they are, and they're looking at the sun, and they start saying like, I think it could be like a white dwarf or something like that. And then they find like weeds in the dirt, and they scoop it up because you're like, oh my god, this is, you know. And then it's like he sees a waterfall and he's like, duh!
Oh yeah, that's right. They go swimming in the yeah.
Bro, when they got butt ass naked and started swimming in the water, I was kind of like, all right, cool. What's happening?
But then they get caught up into it. Like then they start getting chased. I thought that was kind of
like they're flopping right now. You know what I mean? Just what,
you know, they've been in a spaceship for so long, then crossing a desert.
I get it. Sorry, we don't have to overtalk it. That's my number 7.
Yeah. My number 7 is Escape for the Planet of the Apes.
You guys. Wow.
Which actually I had a really hard time because wait, is this right?
I already wrote it down. It's official.
A previous draft.
Wait, oh no, this is correct. Okay. My bad. I was thinking about swapping it a little bit higher up, but I'm not going to. So yeah, Escape for the Planet of the Apes is here. We've talked about this enough. I think we've already talked about the ending. I really like that. I think in the middle, like it's very crazy, and it becomes a very like Beatles-esque 70s situation. And Sarah, I was like, Sarah, do you want to watch Planet of the Apes? And she's like, no, I don't want to watch any of those movies. They're so sad. And then like, no, but this one's different. And then Zero's like going shopping.
They shop, they dress, they get dressed. When he gets dressed in the suit, and he's like, oh, look at me. And then Shigo gets one, and he's like sitting in the cab or whatever.
Yes.
And he turns out the acting that he was doing at that moment, he was just like, oh. I was like, I love it. There's because the mouth was advanced for what it was, but it also was very stiff. Yeah. Like their eyes had to be very expressive, and their body movements, their body language had to be very expressive.
Which again, Zero does such a good job of using her eyes.
I couldn't believe how many GIFs I've seen on the internet that were from that like original like movie. You know what I mean? Like Cornelius at one point, he rolls his eyes. You know what I mean? I've seen that GIF so many times, man. Charlton Heston doing that. Fuck me. When he cackled like that, I was like, maybe I don't want to watch these movies. Anyway, sorry. Escape. Okay, I mean that's fair.
It was going to be higher, and I'm happy. I'm getting a sense that it might be higher for somebody else, which I love, because I feel like many people don't like that movie. Because
I mean, we might as well say it as Miguel. Like somebody else.
I'm the only one.
Steven Escobar, welcome to the podcast. You're jumping in.
He's like, guys, I want to exclusively talk about Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I would do it. We're on the same page lately, me and him, so I'll take it.
Okay, Miguel.
It's not about
yours?
Dallas.
Oh no, we're 6, right?
Ed, I think it's Ed's now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So my number 6 is Conquest.
Nice.
The 70s version of Rise. This movie. You know what really threw me off about this movie is the fucking score. It was just like freehand jazz the whole fucking time. I was like, what is the vibe right now?
That's what I mean. Going from Escape to this one, you're like, whoa, what? Like from 2 to 3 to 4, you're like, what is happening?
You as soon as you meet Caesar, you're just like, oh, I know exactly how this is going to play out. But I like, they're obviously drawing like a lot of parallels to the civil rights movement, which was going on, and Vietnam and all of that shit. And when it starts like building up that momentum and we like see Caesar kind of educating the apes, and I was wondering like how are they gonna kind of,
he's like,
pass on that, because like in Rise they have that kind of like what do you call it, just like those canisters of gas that he throws at them and kind of gives them that medicine or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So I was curious to see, obviously on these basic terms, and but like when the riots start kicking off, it starts getting kind of intense, and some of the like very Shakespearean speeches that Caesar gives, and the bad guy, the real hokey like corporate guy, but like he's like, if we die, then it becomes a planet of the apes. I was like, yeah, man, it does.
Yeah, man.
And then
you won't believe what's been happening.
Caesar's speech on the steps, like when they're about to kill him and stuff like that. It's like a very intense moment. But I dug it for what they were depicting. And one thing I wanted to mention, Miguel, you were talking about just like how like I feel like with each movie you could tell they were taking more away. That's why they were grounding it more like in the real world. But like that was like after 20th Century Fox was struggling after like huge flops like Cleopatra and stuff like that. So they start like increase, like with each movie they cut the budgets down more and more.
You could feel it, like even the camera work was like very, I think they leaned into it, the documentary shaky style. Also, there were moments when the apes were getting tortured on the table and they were just wearing like regular shoes. And like in the previous movies, they make a very clear, they have distinct feet. And then in this one, they all have like pointed shoes. And I'm like, that's not going to fit in that shoe. What are we talking about here?
Well, what's crazy also is I couldn't, just to talk about production value, like I couldn't believe between like the first movie and the second movie, I want to say there was like 2 years or something like that, 2 maybe 3.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? But then there was a run where they were doing a Apes movie every single year.
Yeah.
And I was like, it must be pretty economical to do this. Like they're reusing a lot of the costumes. You know what I mean? They're in regular places, so they don't have to make this like fantastical. They don't have to travel to Africa or something like that to like get some sort of desert jungle. And it just kind of felt like, oh, and then when I looked and saw that they did the TV show as well, I was like, man, I bet they were just like churning these things out because it was cheap enough to make and people were paying to see it.
People wanted to see the stuff.
Because I could not believe how many of these movies happened within 5 or 6 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like with this and maybe like James Bond, like, I don't know, not a lot of like series coming out during that time. So, like this was kind of like a brand at that point. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure like the first Planet of the Apes was like one of those big like shock factor moments for that generation. It's like, oh yeah, fucking Planet of the Apes fucked me up. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Which I think is why it's so important that they made so many changes in between each movie. Like we're doing a different movie now, because otherwise it's like it's gonna get stale, it's gonna get boring.
Right.
So I appreciated that they were something different. In Battle of the Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, I did love the I had to look it up. They were in the 90s, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I loved that interpretation of the 90s from what the 70s thought it was be. Like at one point now obviously we had cassettes in the 90s, but they were like trying to be like futuristic, and they were like, play the cassette. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then it was on this like futuristic TV screen, but they were like, plug it in first. Make sure the red, yellow, white cables are plugged in. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, it's not really the future, but and Ricardo Montalban, I meant to say this earlier, when he showed up in the Escape movie, like it was like, the fuck is he doing in this movie? Where did he come from? And then the fact that he's such a big character in the next one, I loved that. That they kind of brought him on and they used him in a good way. Sorry, I wanted to.
Sorry, which character?
No, totally.
Ricardo Montalban, the circus.
Yes.
Okay.
Owner.
Sorry. Yeah. Miguel, one thing I'll just say real quick was because you didn't watch Battle, but there's the bad guy in Conquest. He has a brother who does kind of like all the experimental and torture stuff. The guy with the goatee and everything. He is the main villain in Battle.
That makes sense.
He was like a surviving member in the city after the nuclear fallout or whatever, and he's the one who leads the attack on them.
Got it. I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not going to go back and watch that movie. So
No, I'm just saying that. That's exactly why I'm saying.
I almost lied to myself. You know what I mean?
Like I saw that movie.
I'm gonna make an effort. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna see it. But more power to it. Great. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
You're so close to finishing it.
Yeah, you remember when I stopped playing God of War Ragnarok like 5 minutes before it ended?
You're gonna. This is.
You know why?
This is driving me crazy, Miguel. Like I am such a completionist that this is so insane to me. Like you're getting to the finish line. You're like, you know what? 40 years of training and I'm almost done. Fuck it. I'm not going to cross that finish line. I'm going to go get a burger. It's like you are right there. Just take two more steps and you're almost done.
Because if it was compelling enough, I would have finished it.
But you're two steps away.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how close I am. It's like, my time is valuable to me, right? My energy, my effort. And if I don't need to go that extra distance for something that I already know in my heart I'm not going to enjoy, then I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? And the thing is, again, I've watched so many of these movies that I was like, by this point, there is really nothing that is going to sell me on this franchise. I've done it. I was talking to someone at my work recently who told me that he doesn't like Game of Thrones. And I always thought he like watched the first season or maybe half the first season and just was like, it's not for me. I can't get into it. And oh my God, you're missing so many good moments. He told me the other day, he saw 3 seasons of Game of Thrones and was like, this is not for me. I just cannot keep going.
Wow.
And I think that is fair. Like he gave it the effort. He watched as much as he could possibly go and said, it's not for me. And that's how I feel about these movies.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. You're very much that energy.
I've seen it as best as I can, you know?
Well, I guess I'll spoil it to you, but as grim as all these movies are, in the end of Battle of Planet of the Apes, humans and apes coexist happily. And there is a happy ending out of all the movies. There is that one gem of like hope.
That's good.
That exists.
I'll watch like a YouTube essay on it or something. Like I'll
the
binge.
YouTube essay will be longer than the movie though.
Oh my fucking God. You're so right. You tried to sell it to me. I was like 2 more movies left and you were like, Miguel, it's like a Scorsese movie. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. Like Scorsese movies can be so long, but they're good. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'll watch them over and over again.
Yeah. By the time I finish this Scorsese movie, you've already finished 2 Planet of the Apes movies. It is that's fair. Short.
That's fair.
All I can hope for is if we ever live in the same city, we'll just get drunk and we'll just put on these movies and then you'll have nowhere to go because we'll have beer and pizza. And it's like
you know where I'll go. You know where I'll go.
Where are you gonna go?
To sleep. You know what I mean? On
this is gonna be
couch.
3 in the afternoon. We're gonna be wasted and be watching.
I want you to know, if I'm wasted at 3 in the afternoon, I'm definitely napping. Okay, like,
well, I'm gonna find a way to make you watch this.
Okay,
you're
gonna find a way. It's gonna be like Clockwork Orange. And you're gonna be like, oh, fuck these fucking monkeys.
And the sad thing is, it's just for battle.
It's not.
It's like that's not the one that's going to change your mind on anything.
That's what I'm saying. It's not gonna.
But you always like have FOMO. You don't want to miss out on the culture and what's going on. Like if I put this movie on Twitter, would you watch this movie now? And everyone's talking about battle.
The thing I was FOMOing. The thing I was FOMOing about is the fact that you watched the movies, and that's what made me put that first one on last week. I was like, look, even Ed's falling asleep because he's like, I can't fucking talk about these Apes movies anymore. And we still have 5 more movies to rank.
I did text Miguel privately. I was like, Miguel, if I had recommended this series, would you have even dipped your toe?
I would have, because especially if you sold it the way Luis had, you know what I mean?
Luis has a better knack for. I overtalk things, and then people are just like, all right, so it's just an Ed movie. Yeah, I'll see it, Ed. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
The monkeys?
I'm not into it.
No, I don't know. We've gone on a tangent, and there's so many more to go.
6.
Is it my turn?
Is it?
Yeah, Miguel.
Okay.
I'll just get it over with. It's the Marky Mark Planet of the Apes movies, and you know why? You know why?
Why?
Because thank God, here's some good effects. You know what I mean? Even when they were in space, I was like, oh, well, whatever. The computer did it. You know what I mean? I was like, I said, they had the technology. You know what I mean? We can rebuild the franchise. I was surprised that they didn't make more of these. I guess it was like probably too much money and it didn't make enough money back. Yeah, it was what the problem was. It was a bust. But it was definitely something that if it had been a hit, I could have seen them making a few more of those movies. The effects alone were phenomenal. I had no idea that was Tim Roth as the bad guy. Michael Clark Duncan, obviously, like, I know it's him because his voice is so specific, but you know what I mean? You just don't. Paul Giamatti in the eyes, you can tell. Yeah. But it's you get lost in that effect. I think I'm totally here for it. So Chris Christopherson, hello. Yeah. Who doesn't love Chris Christopherson? Yeah. He's a fucking beast. Okay. When he's there, I'm like, yes, sir. So number 6, Planet of the Apes.
My number 6 is Planet of the Apes. We've talked about this already. Yeah, the OG one.
I feel like we're doing a dance here. Like, we're not 100%, but we're kind of in the ballpark.
We're in the yeah. Okay,
I see where this is going.
What's your next one?
Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, number 5 is Rise. I will say, just off the bat, this one does have like one of my favorite moments in the entire franchise, and it's when he says no for the first time.
Again, a callback to the original franchise, right? Yeah. Like they tell that story,
but it's powerful. When it happens, and like the CGI is still like a little touchy, and again, it's one of those where like it's better in certain close-ups, but you could tell they're still tweaking it. It's not perfect. Yeah. It's definitely more human-centric. James Franco's fine. I do appreciate the pace of this. Like it was a lot faster than I remembered. Yeah. And the Golden Gate Bridge scene is genuinely very good. And I do like the ending of this movie, even though it's not like a plot twist or whatever. It's just like the triumphant apes have made it over the bridge, and who knows what will happen. Yeah. And it has like a good score too, which doesn't always stand out in these movies, I feel like. But yeah, overall it's just like one of those solid, and if this didn't work as well as it did, I'm not saying it's like the best, obviously, but you're like so right. If it didn't work as well, this franchise even would have been dead in the water. So the fact that it would have made a compelling argument that what Andy Serkis was doing, we could make more, and it could only get better. And the distance from this to Dawn, as far as its effects go, is just kind of crazy.
The Grand Canyon.
So it had a promise and it lived up to that promise, but it was just like it confidently said like we could do this, and Rise.
That no moment, you're absolutely right. I feel like that's what sold the movie, the franchise. You know what I mean? And you see this on Twitter a lot. There's people talking about how that's going to happen. They're going to talk. That's no surprise. But the way they frame that build up into him doing
how and when,
it was like, hell yes, dude. Like that is a moment.
And the fact that this movie even like packs an emotional punch was something I wasn't expecting. And like at the end in the Redwood, when Caesar and James Franco come face to face again, and he's like, Caesar is home. Like that was a powerful moment too. It was like they didn't overuse it. They withheld it as much as they needed to, and used it just to really land it. So
another callback to the old franchise. He's on a leash. You know what I mean? In Conquest, he's on a leash in the beginning of the movie. I mean, every time they did something that they had already done, or the Circus had done before. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm seeing where they're pulling all of these. So I'm going to keep doing that.
That's good. Was that your number 5, right? Yeah. Miguel, what's your number 5?
Guys, I did not like the original Planets franchise, okay? I was over it almost immediately, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry I let you down.
Saving Grace, the one for me.
Oh, right.
Guys, it's Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
I love that you love that. I love that it's so high up on the list here.
I could not believe how much I enjoyed that movie. They escaped the planet blowing up, and then they had to escape. You know what I mean? The planet as it was. It's what made me enjoy Cornelius and Zira on a much deeper level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had their own story. I thought the way that the humans treated them at first, it felt believable. The fact that they turned them into celebrities, you know?
Yeah.
I just didn't hate that at all. The whole, we're going around and she's drinking wine and getting drunk, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Grape juice plus.
The government is interrogating them. Like that felt very believable. You know what I mean? And then the ultimate, like them having to escape because Cornelius kills the orderly by accident, and you know their whole goal is they just want their baby to be born, and even if we die, we just want him to live. All the way to the reveal at the end, like she's been talking to the monkey the entire time, mama, 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 like say mama, and then the monkey at the end of the movie says it. It was just
they repeat the frame.
They rewound it a little bit, like the doll. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I get this moment. I loved them. I loved them in the astronaut suits at the beginning of the movie. I loved that whole intro. It's just the first one that felt like, it doesn't feel just like an old movie where it seemed like they were taking leaps forward. You know what I mean? In the way that they did it. The thing that really caught me up on it in the beginning that I almost texted Louise about was like, they specifically said that they did not know how to fly. Flying was impossible in those first 2 movies. And then all of a sudden they get in the spaceship and land back on Earth. I was like, how are they even going to justify that? And they did. I couldn't believe it. That, you know, this, what was his name? Milo? Milo. They were like, you know, he was like halfway smart enough to figure out the spaceship. And we kind of like clunkily crashed, you know, back in time here. And then I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, she was so good. I really wanted her to like avenge them. But then I guess I see where they were going with it, right? It was like the baby wasn't the real baby. You know what I mean?
Right. And what's actually really nice too is in Battle with Planet of the Apes, there's a moment when Caesar's a little bit lost in what to do in the direction of like what to make, you know, where to go from here. And one of the guys who he's kind of relying on, friends with, he's like, there is video of your parents. Do you want to see it? And he's like, my parents, of course. And so they have to truck their way into human, like the bunker, the humans' bunker, and find and hide, and then they play the tape, and you see Zira and you see Cornelius and you see them talking about all these things, and I think he lets out a tear and he's just kind of like reconnecting with them for the first time, and that was a very sweet moment, and also nice to see those two characters reappear again after not seeing them in Conquest. Another reason to see Battle.
I won't, but I get you.
My fifth one is Conquest for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I was wondering when that was going to come up.
Yeah, that one I kind of just really like the whole turning point, and how it shifted. That's kind of what's it called, the fulcrum point of everything, and just how Caesar was able to rally everyone. And I don't know. I don't really want to get into. We've talked about Conquest enough, so I think we really want to dive into these newer movies, which is, I think, the trend that we've all kind of seen here. Ed, what was your fourth movie?
Okay, well, talking about like the new movies, I'm gonna take you back to the original.
Oh, my bad. Okay,
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, purely because, like, I mean, God, Charlton Heston was really bad the second time watching it. It's obnoxious. I'm just like, this is like, why would you react this way? However, purely for like the moments of this movie and the just everything that it kicked off, the fact that they could even end a movie like this in 68 was kind of crazy to me anyway. And I love, and that's what I like about the franchise, is kind of the bleak futuristic vibe about it, and the moments where like Charlton Taylor is running through kind of like the ape town, and he ends up in that museum, and all of a sudden he walks past his fellow co-pilot, and you're just like, damn, that's kind of fucked up. And then we see Landon later, and he's like goes to talk to him, and then turns his head. He's had like a brain surgery, and that's kind of dark and twisted too. And then just like finding the ruins, going in that cave, and the doll, and everything to that. Just like it's everything about the Planet of the Apes that made it so intriguing and so kind of like dark and intense. And like, yeah, we had to use Charlton Heston to get there, but it is iconic. And like, Zero was like one of my favorite characters in that movie, and we already mentioned Dr. Zaius. But yeah, you know, like I said, we wouldn't be where we are without this one. So it's one, and those shocking moments really do kind of resonate whenever I do think of the Planet of the Apes, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, and that like, there's that court scene too, where I just feel like there's all this idea of like concepts that are, and
you're frustrated about it, like the circles that they go in, and how ignorant they seem or defiant. Yeah, it hits a lot of points, I think.
Miguel, what's your number 4?
You guys, I'm about to fly through these when we come around. It just feels like you know what's left at this point. Guys, because same thing. I didn't finish Battle. I didn't watch Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I didn't finish Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's going to go on my number 4 spot. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Why? Because it actually looked like a movie. Okay, I was like, yes. No, I was having a good time.
So wait, which one?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Sorry.
Right? That's where we are.
So it's my turn. My bad. It's also my turn. My number 4 is also Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Let's go.
Okay.
So, let's go. And we've already talked about that movie, and we already know what's going on.
I'm curious if our top 3s are basically going to be the same. I'm curious if someone will throw out.
I know our top 3s aren't going to be the same right now because Ed's already fucked it up. So,
did he? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, he did, didn't he? You fucking
I
idiot.
Always do.
You had to go put Planet higher than Rise. Okay.
Ed, what's your number 3?
Okay, my number 3, guys, it's Dawn.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. And rewatching it twice recently.
You're fucking joking.
The reaction between me and Miguel were just like.
Yeah.
The one time I thought our list was going to be completely the same at the top. There we go.
You already said it was fucked up. But hey, listen. First off, I think these last three movies are kind of all on a level that are very high in quality.
Yes, I agree.
It was kind of a little juggling act. I have felt firmly about my number one, but like, Dawn. So look, I'll just get out with like why Dawn is where it is, and the biggest thing for me.
This is 3, right? We're at number 3.
First off, I'm like so over this whole Cobra bullshit, but also just like I do like the movie as a whole, but I struggle with the third act. It gets a little bit tropey. The final face-off between Cobra and Caesar to me is a little underwhelming. And I felt that way when I saw it in theaters. And even now, rewatching it, I feel like there's a little bit of repetition here. Now, with that being said, it does have like some of the greatest moments in the entire franchise also. But I've tempered that, and maybe I'm just like getting, I'm riding on a high, having just seen Kingdom.
Obviously.
But, I like that juice, man. But no, I like Dawn has like, I always know like people do crown it as the best one. And I totally understand why, but like there was always for me that feeling like there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of repetition, and the ending just didn't hit it home for me, frankly. So yeah.
All right.
There you go.
I'm sure we'll talk more about this movie, Dawn. Miguel, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Obviously, okay. We've already talked.
My
about
number
it.
3 is also Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, thank you. Like, I'm sorry. Yes, the Caesar saying no bit was amazing. You know what I mean? The battle, great. We've already talked about it. 3.
I mean, this movie, I cried more than I needed to. I think there was a lot of emotional beats, and it's a short, efficient movie. It's like, what, an hour 40? And we get through a lot, like from him not knowing how to talk to then being smart and leading these apes into a new home. And the turn that he has in like befriending and becoming the alpha ape there. Like all of that in such a short time is crazy. And now we have movies that are 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yep. And the emotional arc that they all go through, I think, is just, I have to give it to them. Yeah, it's not as clean as the Reeves movies, but I think it still delivers some emotional strength. Talking
about the idea that they're going to make, 2 more trilogies of the Planets movies, the Apes movies. The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the astronauts go into space right at the beginning of the movie, and you never hear from them ever again in the rest of the trilogy. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm curious to see, are we going to see those astronauts again? You know what I mean? In the future. So I'm way down for it.
All right. So you and me are the same Rise. Ed, what's your number 2?
I'll give you a Rise. It's Kingdom. Like I said, I might be riding on a high, but I really did love the world building. I thought the pacing was perfect, unlike Dawn, where I feel like the third act drags. And the action comes right when you need it to, like all the way through, and the ending was satisfying. And I was invested in all the characters, and where they were going and what might happen in the future. And they also quickly set up like emotional stakes too. So like it kind of checked all those boxes. There was a cool villain. There's a nice like human versus ape element to it, and the kind of the threat of modernization and evolution, and history repeating itself, kind of thing. So I was on board for it, and I was, like I said, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it going into it. I was a little skeptical, but yeah, it really did do it for me. So. Sorry.
Congratulations, number 2.
Miguel, what's number 2?
War.
Mine's War 2.
War for the Planet of the Apes.
That's my second one as well.
Okay.
I said this already in our text, but it's like the first time I saw this movie, I was like, it's not clicking for me. It felt better the second time I watched it after watching Dawn, because I don't think I remembered the first time I watched it, but they do a quite slight setup for the next movie at the end of this first movie that, they were able to reach the other military base,
right?
And they're coming.
Right.
And you're like, what does that mean? And then in this movie, you see them. I almost said Matthew McConaughey. Woody Harrelson is really good. His justification, I loved. They do. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Ed. Some tropey things. Probably the donkey gorilla being redeemed, I think, is like kind of. Oh, sorry.
I was saying that about Dawn, you fuck.
I know. I was.
Well, there you go. Take that.
I agree. But also, I think that was true of all three of those movies. I think there were definitely tropey things about them.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Because they steered away from those like cliffhanging things.
Yeah.
There was always kind of a satisfying ending to each of them.
Mm-hmm. I liked in War also that they break away from the main group of apes. Like they send them on to go to their new home, and then it's like this small crew, and it feels like it feels kind of like the three acts are totally.
Oh, 1000%.
They do different things in each act.
Yeah, like a different genre in each.
Yeah,
yes.
which is a nod, right, to the original movies, kind of, you could say, because again, every movie was slightly different.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a Western. And also just like the inspired choice of putting apes in snow. Like
absolutely.
Just Matt Reeves really kind of playing with the visual element. And I remember when that movie came out, and I can't remember which movie beat it out, but the visual effects are stunning.
Yeah.
In it, and as is with Dawn, I think everybody when that first frame in Dawn where we see Caesar's face, you're just like, damn,
they stepped it up.
Like way up. So 100%.
So
I think
Luis,
War is same with me as well. There's a moment when I watched it. This is the one where we're talking about scores.
What did you do?
I shared. I shit.
I
This is the one where I was shitting and I watched this movie on my toilet. 2 hours and 45 minutes. My legs were asleep the whole time. No, I shared this song, this score that was happening when they were trying to escape.
Yeah.
From the Planet of the Apes, not the movie, in that scene. And that was the moment when the score locked me in, because a lot of the moments it kind of gets lost. So I'm gonna have to commend it for that as well. But yeah, War's great. We talked about, I agree with Miguel on all.
I thought War was like, for one, like.
Well, I mean, let's roll into number one because that's your number one. Yeah,
that's my number one. Yeah. But no, I thought it offered like Andy Serkis's best performance. Or you might disagree. I don't know. I thought it was just like, I mean, kind of raw and emotional.
Can I tell you,
Steve Zahn, who.
Oh, mwah. So good.
And it's a pretty bleak movie throughout.
It is.
But Steve Zahn is that very welcome, like, comedic relief.
I meant to say this a second ago. Sorry, I don't mean to step on you. But the thing that made me, even on rewatch, the thing that I don't love about War for the Planet of the Apes is that, and I get that they have to do something different with his character to make it interesting, but Caesar was on his way up. You know what I mean?
This is why. Yes.
It's kind of like Dark Knight Rises, where all of a sudden Batman is not, Batman for most of the movie. He has to have that redeeming element at the end. But it's just the overall arc of the story is like, he's not Batman anymore at the beginning of that movie. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just doesn't feel we were on that path. You know what I mean? And I wanted to see him be like strong for them, and I guess because they beat him down so much and they beat all of the apes down, and it was just kind of like, well, it's not where I thought we were going with it.
Sure. Well, I think it was to, like, I think for the natural evolution of Planet of the Apes, like, he had to finish his story.
Sure.
And I felt like, and of course, but it was like, I think he had to face that dark side and that reality that Koba predicted in Dawn. and that like man and ape are and maybe he has to kill apes too, because and what I like particularly about war is that they start intertwining, like naturally humans would use gorillas or whatever as tools to help them in the war, but I just thought it was like, this was like his dark chapter, kind of like the Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. Like, you got to dabble with darkness to push on. And then he's like Moses taking his people across the desert and then letting them free. And there's a new dawn, like to a kingdom.
Well, obviously that's your number one. For me, Miguel, it's going to be Dawn. Planet of the Apes, and I think I kind of agree with Miguel a little. I've only seen this movie one time, so I mean, I probably need to rewatch it. This is a movie that I kind of missed, and I'm happy that I finally got onto it. But after watching Dawn and seeing him going through this, like, there's this battle of ape is ape and man is man, and then ape is becoming man and killing like man, and so there's this whole thing of like, well, maybe ape isn't so much ape, and maybe ape is like man a little bit, and we kind of overcome that in Dawn. And then when we go to war, the question is brought back up again. And it's like, wait, didn't we just do this in Dawn? Why are we repeating those themes again in war? Sure. And I think they do a good job of implementing it in the plot where, they kill his wife and they kill his kid. So that he's obviously geared by like just pure raw emotion. And that's a good driving for it, but it did simplify it a lot more than I think Dawn. I think Dawn was a lot more nuanced because it involved his son and the way his son was splitting between the way his dad thinks and then the way that Koba thinks. And he is also of a second generation where he is not used to seeing what Caesar saw. He is used to just apes running the world, and it's like, oh yeah, humans, of course, they're dumb and they should be, servants and all these things. So of course he aligns with Koba in that way. And that juxtaposition is just so interesting and Shakespearean in the way that he's almost having to fight, not for his apes, but for his son's like salvation or whatever. And I think the visuals in Dawn are incredible. Like there's like that fire scene.
Yeah. That shot where the tank is doing that like round, and the camera like pans with the tank. I remember that was something that stood out to me the first time I watched that movie.
And there's just some great. We talk about silhouettes of Denis Villeneuve, but like here again, like there's a lot of like one directional lighting in Dawn, and it cascades this very dramatic effect over a lot of the scenes that I really loved. But I think there was a moment when I was battling between where do I put War and Dawn, and I think there was a moment when it was at one, but I think
they are Dawn very, like I said, I feel like these movies are working now, and I hope continue to do so. They're working at like a singular top tier level of storytelling and visuals. And maybe I feel like Dawn does have the more striking visual moments. War was just kind of like fucking gritty and more impactful for me. But like one of my favorite scenes in Dawn was when all of the apes ride into town to tell the humans, like, you stay here. Yeah, that's such a great moment. Like, talk about like that's a Planet of the Apes moment. But so many. And the human element bored me a little bit in that one too. Like, that's fair. I like Gary Oldman and I like Jason Clarke, but it was like this back and forth going to the power plant, get it going, not get it going, and
it was this like prime moment when like you really had an opportunity for trust to grow, and just a little bit of hate really fucked things up. And at the end, he's like, "Listen, man, humans aren't gonna. We started the war, and so we just have to fight it now." And I was like, God, like this is the moment when all of this is happening, and it's just like it's so fresh and vulnerable. Dawn is great, and the war. I really liked how are humans gonna devolve even more, and the whole idea of like the virus keep going, and then they started becoming mute and a little and not as intelligent. I did like that angle of war as well. We can go on and talk about Planet of the Apes. I'm sure we will. Forever. When the next Planet of the Apes. What do we think the next Planet of the Apes is going to be called? Probably
Beyond.
Empire. Beyond
Empire
the Planet of the
of
Apes.
the
Beyond
Planet of the
Planet of the Apes Plus. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about something. I know the X-Men animated series is wrapping up, so maybe we talk about that. Who knows?
Miguel
Probably
hates
not,
it.
because Miguel probably just gave up halfway through. And he's like, "This is not for me."
You guys won't believe my thoughts on that show.
Miguel, you need to pick the next feature discussion.
If you're
We'll see.
curious, If is coming out as well. It's that whole imaginary friend with Ryan Reynolds, directed by John Krasinski. Remember, go to our Instagram. You can see, if you click on that link in the bio, you can actually see who's winning the summer movie wager. Now, it's really early on, so Ed's winning right now, but it's really only 2 movies have been released.
Yeah.
So, but go up there. You can kind of get a real take on who's winning that. But thank you guys for listening to our little Planet of the Apes podcast. It's been me, Luis Gonzalez, and with me's been
Miguel Sanchez.
And Deadpool.
And until next time, later.
Nerds together.
Oh,
Strong.
strong.
I'm wearing this gorilla thing tonight too. It's so hot. I wish
I bet.
y'all had. I thought we were doing it.
I told you I didn't have anything.
I'm gonna kill myself now.